So it sounds like, interestingly enough, I feel like when I speak with most like musicians or people that we've sat down with, or anyone for the matter that goes into these type of things, they like knew as a child that this is what they were going to be doing, and they were like have their heads set on it. Doesn't sound like exactly that way. Like
there was a time when I like wasn't sure, and that was when I was religious. That time, a period when I was religious, and I was heavy in, and I was under the like tutelage of this maniac, and he was convincing me that the shit was fully fucking illegal for me to do. And again, like, oh, okay, this is what this dude would do. This guy was crazy, right? So, for example, this happened in real life. Like in the yeshiva where I'm davening, other people would come down, like some of the older guys, so people would come down there. And it's like people you call to the Torah or whatever. So he like lied to the gabbai, tell him it's my birthday, tell him which aliyah to have me call. Then I would get called not knowing any of this. They would read it, and then afterwards he'd be like, did you see what that aliyah was about? It was about like these idol worshippers who like make noises with their armpits and shit. And he'd be like, the beatboxing that you do is fully illegal here in the Torah. What? Yeah, like crazy shit like that, like get into my head. So, shit. But again, I'm fucking happy that shit happened, because I feel like at the end of the day, my whole entire bracha that I got like came from this moment in time when I fully let go of it. Because like I had become religious because I fully believed in God, and fully believed that it would happen. The only way that like my dream would happen would be through God. But still my dream was like the number one thing. Even though I was religious and davening all day and doing everything you could do under the sun and saving my fucking fingernails for Pesach to burn and like bag of fingernails, bro. I was on some heavy shit. Yeah.
So you were religious?
This is heavy balchuva.
So yeah, exactly. So in that moment, there came this time where it was like, well, yeah, but you still like music and being an artist and doing your thing is still like number one. It's still what you want. And there came a time where I broke that down all the way and like let go of it. And I feel like in that moment is when.
Were you aware of like, I'm introducing a level of spirituality, maybe even Kabbalistic ideas to a non-educated crowd? Like to a
100%, because I came from the whole trip of like, for example, like Bob Marley was the one that I was looking to for that, right? Mm-hmm. Looking up to, or like Shlomo Karlbach.
He was your Rebbe.
Or like when I became religious, like Shlomo. Yeah. So it was like, Bob was like so authentic. It was just like, and so spiritual that like you said, like a kid in White Plains, New York, who's 15 years old, like 30 years later is like listening to those songs, and it sends him on a whole journey, right? So that was my motive, like just be as real with it as you can. And then I was coming from Chabad. So the idea is like turn over the world, change the world, like have the influence. Yeah. So like when I listen to like early interviews from that time, it's hard for me to listen to because like I'm using the accent, and obviously everything I'm saying is like what I've been taught to say to try to like, but at the same time, there's so many Jews and non-Jews that were like affected by the music. And that was the initial like idea, was like, okay, if the music is powerful, which it always felt like it was to me, like when I would sing for people or whatever, then yeah, you want to spread that as
when you were mentioning that you were talking earlier interviews that it was always what you had to say. You felt that way when you were with Chabad, that it was that you weren't fully being your authentic self a little bit.
Sorry, when I was with Chabad, that was.
You felt that you weren't able to be your authentic self.
No, I mean, I knew what I was getting into. Like I made a decision that I was going to strip myself down. I knew when I came into Chabad that this was not like summer camp. This was not like going to spas, and like running around barefoot, smoking weed and like learning some Torah or something like that with like the Badain crew or whatever. Like this was going to be some heavy shit of like breakdown, like going into the military. And I was at a place in my life where I was like, I have this dream and I'm not capable of reaching it. I know like I'm too hung up on too much shit. And I've done, therapy. I've been in different programs. I've done drugs. I love music, but I kind of knew what I needed. So that I needed to be broke down. And like some discipline. So I kind of put myself into it. Now, when I was in it, once you start stripping everything away, then like reality, that is a very dangerous place to go, because reality becomes like very unclear when you're dealing with ideas, like these big ideas that you ascribe to and what's real. And so I got lost in it, no question. More than I would have wanted to. Like if I went back to that stuff, I'd be like, I think save yourself like all this gut wrenching pain, like do the deal. But like I got a little bit too freaked out. And then someone incredible came into my life, like this renegade Russian Chabad therapist who really helped me like pull me out of it.
Wow.
And they were religious.
Like, a big part of my life, yeah.
But they helped you kind of get less extreme and more authentic.
Yes. Like I remember literally like he would do his therapy sessions like it was across the street from the mikvah, the first mikvah, like under 770 in Crown Heights on not Present Union, the Union Street mikvah.
Sure.
And it was like you had to like, you know,
I live off Union.
Like no one knew you had to sort of sneak in there, and he was seeing Baal Tshuvas or like all kinds of people in Crown Heights that had like real issues.
Kind of sounds like he was kind of
but like
dealing with the aftermath of like
the community didn't officially support him.
Of course,
dealing with
he was a snag.
So yeah. No, but he wasn't.
Chabad.
He was like a Chabad star. Like he was in Shrem like with Ginsburg with like this elite group of like dudes that were like all have been heavy hitters, but he's always been under the radar. He lived in Hebron for a while and with his family. He's just this super cool dude that I needed at the time. And I remember like coming out of that basement and like literally like the world looking different. Like, oh, here's the street again, and like colors and like going in and everything just being like this faded mess and
a little bit less black and white.
Yeah.
How long did you go to him for?
Well, I think I saw him for a couple of years, and then we kind of crossed that line and became like good friends. And then he became like one of my writing partners. So he's like, me and him co-wrote. You'll see his name on the writers for like the album Light. We like based that. Yeah, so we went to like the Ukraine. We went to the Baal Shem Tov. We went to like and like wrote there for like weeks. We just stayed there, like meditated and wrote. And we learned like Nachman at that point, she was like transitioning me out of Chabad Chassidus, and we were like learning a lot of Breslov Chassidus. And so we were like heavy into Nachman. And we studied like the Seven Beggar Stories, the outline for the entire album. Like,
which album is this that was
the one that has One Day on it?
Is it safe to say you're still into Reb Nachman? Because there's a L'Kutim Aran on your speaker.
There you go. Look at that. Well.
That's awesome. Oh, wow.
Yo, shout out Reb Nachman.
It's actually really interesting what you said before, because it makes total sense that you could get lost in that space, because when you buy in, like with Chabad concept, if you have doubt in those concepts, then you're never taking in anything. And if you buy in, the chances of you going further than you want till you get pulled out of it is very likely.
Yeah, because the whole thing is about like stripping away the self. So like at some point, it's like, where does it end? Where does that end? And then once you're in that zone, you're kind of like a zombie. Like you have no self. So if you don't have someone guiding you through the rebuilding process, like you could wallow in that zone for a long time, and then like that's kind of a scary place to be.
I saw a picture of you. Oh, you were real deal Chabad. No,
yeah, of course.
That and Hask 18. I still remember seeing you for some reason, like the house I grew up in, all we did was watch like Hask concerts and like the all concerts.
Yeah, that was a thing. I know. People had the video cassettes. I remember like staying in people's houses where they like couldn't watch normal TV, and they'd have like 20 videos.
That was me. That was me.
VHSs.
Are you aware that they made 2 versions of Hask 18?
The one without me?
Yeah.
Yes. I was literally going to get to that. So that's what I wanted to ask. There's literally a version without you. That's number one.
The kosher version.
The kosher version.
And then obviously at Ask 18, like half the place walked out. Like a lot of people.
So there's a deep idea here, right? And the idea is this, that, okay, I'll tell it like with a story too. Another time I was in Cleveland, Ohio.
Hey, that's where we're from.
Okay, so
do
you know the Chabad Rub there?
Yeah.
So all the Chabad boys go there to learn about sex before they get married.
I didn't know
they
that.
Go to hiking. Yeah,
I didn't go there.
He's Rabbi like he's one of the number 1 rabbis in Cleveland.
He's the Rabbi Pitter of Cleveland.
Yes.
Okay, so yeah.
Older.
He's older. He's like 80. He's got now 85.
Yeah. So I'm playing and I get like a message. Rabbi wants to see you after your show. It's like 1 o'clock in the morning. Again, I'm like, okay, this is the guidance I've been looking for. Like someone sees what I'm doing here. I'm influencing people. I'm a kid. I'm a Baal Tshuva. In the face of fucking Chabad at this point. I'm like, someone wants to talk to me. I go to his place. He pulls open this paper where someone is talking about how I'm using like a Jamaican accent. Then he opens up a Torah and talks about how there's like a halacha, you're not allowed to dress up or act like a goy. This is his advice to me. Crushed. I walk away from his house, right?